All right, everybody, welcome back to the 5th episode of the Media Buyer's Manual. Today we are joined by my co-host Adam, as well as Tony Christensen. He is our guest of honor today. Tony, we'll throw it over to you real quick. Just give a little 30-second intro about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm Tony Christensen. I go by Tony Does Ads, specializing in a lot of e-commerce ads. I've worked at multiple different agencies along the way, and I do kind of speaking, consulting, and work for an agency right now, and then kind of run my own kind of agency through what I call Tony Does Ads right now as well.
Awesome.
Cool. I love the name. I love the short and sweet name.
Yeah, it's to the point, and then when people when it crosses their mind, like, well, who should we get for ads? They're like, oh, we should get this guy. So it definitely helps.
On the building, like we have an office in downtown Toronto, and the whole wall is just painted, and all it says is "We run ads."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That should be my trademark.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Exactly. You just need one call to action, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been joining some of these, now that we're all in basically self-quarantine, I've been joining a few like happy hour Zoom meetings, and I won't know some of the people, and I'll just be like, hey, I'm Tony. I do ads. And that's like my intro. I think it's pretty funny.
That's all you really
don't know.
Man.
And you're like, what? Yeah.
All right. So we kind of talked before, and you wanted to kind of go over a new kind of Facebook ad strategy that you've been working with. We're going to let you kind of take off and break it down, and we'll kind of pick your brain as we go, if that is okay with you.
Yeah. And it's a very kind of heavy emphasis on research. And it's just something that I've sort of been doing a lot in my head, and I finally figured out a way to like put it on paper and kind of build a worksheet around it. But basically the idea, to explain it, is it's really helpful for when you're basically starting to work with a new client, or even if you're getting into doing audits and you kind of want to do like a really deep dive, or the other side of things, if you're making some sort of program and you want to figure out what's the sentiment, what are people thinking, like if you're doing like let's say like an advertising membership site or something. I actually did like an analysis of that. So you can use it for different ways. And it's kind of like reverse engineering based on reviews and things that people say online, and feedback too. So some of my like best performing campaigns I've ever had are from using methodologies that are similar to this, which is really cool. So basically, if it's sort of like the e-commerce side that we're talking about, a good way to do it is basically, for one, hopefully they have tons of reviews. It helps immensely, if it's a company that has tons of different product reviews. So you kind of just dive into them, and basically I have a different Excel sheet, and I'll just pull it up so I can reference the different columns here. So basically what you're doing is you're going through these reviews, and yes, it is time consuming, but I promise you it's worth it in the end. But you kind of go through these reviews and you look for different pain points that people might mention that the product solved for them in the review, as well as you're looking for the benefits that people say. So an example, I did this for like a water bottle company, right? And they had bottles that were, they're made in the USA. They have like an ice guard chug cap, they call it. So it blocks ice, but it's really cool because instead of guessing what people love about your product and trying to sell it to them, it's basically stealing all of what they're already saying and leveraging that for your message and your copy. And then likewise, you can use that for your creative that you're making, videos and images and different phrases you might want to put there. Just leveraging the testimonials and reviews for copy is always great, as well as then on the sales page too. So you kind of go through, you look for patterns, and I'm always like a big nerd when it comes to patterns. Just look for what you can find. So basically tally up all those different pain points that you see, and then you can basically get what's the number one pain point that people are referencing, what's the number one benefit that my product is referencing to, or this brand's product. And then you're basically leveraging that into now creating new creative and being able to know, oh, if we're making a new video, we should definitely hit this point. If 80% of the people, or if like a large majority are saying this one major pain point, you'll just run with it and make that be the main hitting pain point. But if there's something else that, there's a fairly good majority of people that are referencing it, mention that too. Or if it's something smaller, like that water bottle company, for example, we thought made in America, and now it's different because we got the COVID going around. So made in the USA is probably a lot bigger, but for them, it was like 2% of people mentioned it. So it probably wasn't even something that was worth mentioning, in our creative going forward. So it's a really cool way to kind of leverage this sheet. And it is time consuming, but basically with that, I categorize those different pain points, and then you can leverage the sheet to basically say, hey, let's grab all of our testimonials of people that mentioned whatever this pain point was or whatever the benefit was, and you can pop those up. Basically, it's just a Google sheet, like all the good software apps that people joke about now that are made, So then you can just sort it by that, pull up all those testimonials, and then leverage that. And you can even reach out to those people if you're, pulling reviews from Amazon or wherever they're from. And then if you want to leverage those people again in creative or whatever, you can kind of go from there. So it's kind of a cool way to do it. And like I said, it is time consuming because you're going through and you're reading a lot of the reviews. Obviously some aren't going to be as beneficial. And then there's another side of it that's really cool too. I'm gonna drink some water real quick.
No worries. This is actually awesome so far.
Yeah. So the other side of it that's really cool too, and kind of what surprised me the more that I started doing this, is you'll actually start to see people mentioning demographics and the use cases of like if they bought it for someone. Or you might see people say, like for the water bottle company, for example, I had people say, I want to buy another one to have in my fridge or to have at work or something. So you're starting to find these different ad angles that way too. That might not even be the main hitting points, but then you're finding different ways that you can angle it. Or someone saying, my grandma's dehydrated, so she needs something like this, and it has a hydration tracker, so they're loving it, right? So being able to leverage all of that in your copy, in your videos, and going forward. And then you might be able to find that other step is the demographics. So you've probably seen reviews where someone's like, when I was younger, I did this, and they just give their life story. Yeah. And you can leverage that, and you might be able to find, I was doing another like blender bottle type company, and it was a lot of people saying, they loved it because they could bring it to work, and use it at work or whatever. So you have the busy professionals, you have like people that are traveling. So you're starting to see more demographics that you can pull out too, which is really cool. And that's why, like, I always tell people, like, get into the research if you can, because then like trying to come up with ad angles, it's like, here they are right here. And yeah, of course you can still come up with your own kind of with current events and stuff that are happening. You can leverage those too. But it's kind of a really cool way to kind of systematize it and pull them out, doing it all on your own, it's cool.
Yeah, and you're getting ad angles that are pretty much coming from the horse's mouth, essentially, because these are people that have paid for your product, and this is value-driven benefits and stuff like that. So, like, this is honestly really good info for a lot of people. So, Adam, I know you had a question if you want to kind of tee it off right now.
I was just going to say, were you an affiliate marketer by chance? Like before running ads for e-com brand and stuff?
Not really. I've signed up for different like affiliate programs, but haven't really done them.
I was wondering because, I guess it's more popular nowadays, but like people don't really talk about angles that much. But I learned the method that you're talking about before I was a marketer, even like before I even ran ads or anything like that. Affiliate was kind of like my first forte into like online advertising. And I'm talking like way back. This is when like it wasn't popular to be an affiliate. Like it was nowhere near something cool. It was like, and drop shipping hadn't taken off yet. Like it wasn't a thing. And this was one of the very first methods I learned. And I've been, as you were talking about it, I've been trying to remember the guy's name. I can picture him still. He has a mohawk. He always like, I can't remember for the life of me. But this is like the most classic method that is still relevant today. And that's what's so cool about it. Like, and this is a perfect spin on it of like looking for reviews, finding those angles and like actually using them as testimonials too. Like even better, not into make ad creative out of it, or you can write copy from literally straight to reviews.
Yeah. And there's like multiple levels to it too, which I like the more I use it now, the more I'm like, this is like the rest of my life. I'm just going to use this sheet now. Cause there's different angles you can take too, where then you can look at competitors too. And you can see, what are the top pain points of our main competitors, and does our problem solve those pain points that people have? Cause now, your product is better than theirs in this regard, and you can leverage that more too and target those people. Likewise too, when I was talking about kind of the membership site too, if you're building a membership site or even like a personal brand or course or any sort of thing related to that too, you can do that similarly, where you can go and you can, if you're doing it for Facebook, I just recently did this for Facebook ads because I've been thinking about a membership site. Go find the top advertisers that are talking, that have courses, that are speakers, all that kind of stuff. Read through their book reviews, read through, their Facebook page reviews, what anyone's talking about their brand, right? What do they love? What do they hate? What do they wish the book mentioned but didn't? There's your course, there's your training, there's your membership. It's just like, kind of gives me goosebumps to talk about, because it's like, You're just reverse engineering. All these people say they love this. You now know more people are going to love that. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah,
obviously it's stuff that you see.
What do you do if you don't have any reviews? But I guess that's a good way of going about it. Go and look at all the competitors that do have reviews.
Yeah, and the other angle you can do too is just like kind of like surveys. So even like calling people if you know like friends that might fall in that demographic. If you don't, talking to people. I was selling yoga pants and leggings for a while, and I just I'm connected with women online, so I just posted on my Twitter, my Facebook, and I just said these were like more expensive kind of premium yoga pants. So I said, why do you buy premium yoga pants compared to other ones? And I got that different copy, and I got like different pain points that people had. And then I was lucky because the girl said something like, what did she say? I hate that yoga brands say one size fits all. And I heard that. I was like, that's my headline. And I ran with it. And I said, the headline was just, we all know one size doesn't fit all. And it was one of the best campaigns I've ever written. And we ended up not working with that client anymore. And then found out like a few weeks later, another agency totally stole that whole campaign, and it just got syndicated like on 600 news stations. And I was like, oh, that sucks. But that's pretty cool, I guess, that I started this thing and someone else ran with it. But
exactly, it worked.
I don't care. Yeah.
And also in terms of like how you were doing the research and stuff like that with the reviews, it's a great way for you to also differentiate yourself in unique positioning, and you're kind of differentiating your product and stuff like that from your competitors, so that you can really pick your position within the marketplace and ram that home. Honestly, how do you find, do you make lists of the audiences from based off the testimonials? They're coming from maybe like a fitness need and then a business need and stuff like that. And then how do you go about testing those audiences as well?
Yeah. So there's always kind of the, now the Shack Stack, you got to run with that all the time. Yeah. So yeah, I typically will do, and it depends so greatly too, based on the client, how many products they might have, how many angles they have, if they already have audiences that are working and they might already know this is exactly my audience. It's working well. We know it's working well organically. But yeah, it's kind of making what the different audiences are and then testing those different angles for them. So like my friend, he's selling like gourmet pretzels right now. And of course they're doing really well, which is awesome to hear. But you have like maybe the people that just like baking at home with their families. You have like the people that are interested in watching football on the weekends. So you kind of just find what those different avatars are. And usually most companies, they don't have just one. It's like, it could be 3 to 5 or whatever, however many you want to end up testing. And then just using whatever pain points. So yeah, if you're using that sheet, you'll see if they mentioned it in their demographic, you'll see what they liked about it, and you can just pull that and run with it. But then, yeah, you can just get into just testing and splitting it out. So it's just different, interest-based audiences. Or another way you can do it too, and I've done this a few times too, is you're getting kind of that Shack Stack, but then doing an interest drill down into people that like football or whatever that audience is. Have that lookalike audience too.
Damn. So when you're doing these kind of background checks on the reviews and stuff like that, what's kind of an approximate time frame that it takes you to run one of these? Because I know that's going to be one of the things that will be asked you in the future if you haven't already been asked it before. So
yeah, I haven't timed it, which is like the interesting thing. Definitely. It can depend on, if they don't have very many reviews, you're going to have to dig into competitors, and then it's going to be not as clear. It's going to be more of a rough guess.
Yeah.
If they do have a lot, it's just however much time it takes you. For what I do, I just basically copy the review, paste it in a Excel sheet. I click on another tab, and then I write down that pain point or that benefit. I do a tally, and then I write a letter, A through Z, sort of to categorize it, which then I put back on that testimonial. So however long that can take you, a few hours, but it depends on, do you want to go through 100? Do you want to go through 50, whatever you want to do?
Yeah.
So it's kind of what you want to do. And the easy, like really quick, if you don't have much time, go to Amazon. If they have products there, they kind of give you their, word bank of top used phrases. You might just find them there. Those could be the things that they don't like either, though. So proceed with caution there too. But yeah, it'll take a few hours for sure. If not like a day, kind of depending on what you want to do.
That's fair. But like all that time sowed is going to be reaped later on with the results. So that's fair enough on that.
Yeah, and that's what's great about it, because then when you're working with a creative team, like I don't do the creative on the most part, but when I'm working with the creative team, or then when I then go and I look at the website and I might do like an audit of the website, I can say, oh, you're not touching anything on why people actually love your product. We need to rewrite these headlines or whatever we might need to do. So yeah, it's just helping kind of make the whole process more seamless, and kind of have less friction for a customer or that cold prospect that's then hearing about your brand. It's just kind of trying to speed that up a little bit more for them.
So also when you're kind of doing your landers, you're talking about pretty much conversion rate optimization, getting the right pain points on your landers and using reviews on your landers as well. Do you, what's kind of the basic layout of a lander that you find is ideal? And also, like, I know, Adam, you have a lot of experience building landers. What are your guys' goals as well, just for that lander experience?
Yeah, and a question that I have too, Tony. We don't focus much on e-com. I mean, we do a little bit of it. But one thing that I kept seeing in the past, I don't really see it much anymore, is like a one product website, or like a landing page dedicated to a single product, or a full site around it. And I wonder, have you tested those out? Like, have you done a one product site or a one product lander, and does it work better, or is it varied?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best for either of these question answers, to be honest. I'm definitely more of the ad side and the research. I usually work with web teams that are doing the website changes. So I'm not going to be able to basically answer that in a comfortable way, I would say. But yeah, I would say test it for most cases though. And then I know a lot of people, and I've heard just on Twitter, a lot of people are using, I think it's called Shogun, which is kind of a lander for Shopify that you can make. And then seeing if you can basically connect whatever your headline is to that lander, that headline on that lander. So that obviously is going to work really well. But for the most part, what I've been doing is just sending them, if it's a specific product, they're just hitting that product page, and then making sure that's just optimized. So things like giving them an option to buy really quickly and not have like a million pop-ups. Like it just drives me nuts sometimes when you see like so many different things pop up. So just trying to reduce all that friction basically and hone in on that. Making sure, the product images are really nice and big. Looking at even like going to the homepage and looking how that's laid out, making sure there's not like those automated sliders a lot of people use that can be really distracting, but instead just showing whatever your main selling product is, or if there's a promo going on, just have that be kind of that image at the top, with a stronger call to action to shop. And then on that product page, just giving as many details as you can, good high quality images, and then from there kind of to check out, making that whole process as seamless as possible. But I'm luckily not the guy that does all that coding and deals with all the CSS and stuff.
I see all those pop-ups on some sites. It bugs me so much too. They've got the spinning wheel that pops out. They've got the discount that comes
the chat too. Yeah.
You've got the chat on the bottom, and then those little, like, the social proof ones are popping up in the other bottom corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone just bought. Yeah. That's the thing that I see so much too, is like, there's just too much going on a lot of the times. And it's like, have one pop up, maybe another one a little bit later, but don't like overlay so many things. And that's where it just gets so like hectic. Other things I see quite regularly now, I've kind of pivoted now, which has been really interesting. I was doing a lot more of the high-end spend e-commerce type stuff. Now I went to another agency to kind of help them with their advertising and start building up kind of that service. But they're a lot more local business, and they do some e-commerce too, like that water bottle company I was talking about. And that's just been a big change too. And a lot of those, I see very basic issues that people might have, like even just like hovering over a button, like make it do something so people know it's a real button. Another thing I like is, I don't like when people just have an image that kind of blends in with the background, but instead if you can make it, I know Nike does like just a slightly light gray color square of the image in it. So it just looks like a big button, things like that you can do, and then too, just the feedback. So when you add it to a cart, show that you added it to a cart. I've just seen stuff like that where people click it and it doesn't do anything, or it might just circle around and then disappear, or just show the add to cart and you're like, I don't know what's going on, or send them to the cart next, and just make that really easy. So that was
always my favorite thing to do, was like kick them straight to the cart.
Yeah.
They click the button.
Yeah. So it's just really going through and, I think I'm really good at just having that first time buyer mindset. Like, what is this? They're really skeptical. And I think a lot of business owners, they really struggle with that, and they want to, like, business owners that try to sell and they're just like, buy my product. That's not how it works, So the more that you can get into that first time buyer's mentality of what is this? Is it sketchy? And like, I need some social proof. Where's the reviews? Is it secure? Is it, all that kind of stuff. You have to think about that and just make sure that friction isn't there, or else people just are going to leave,
In terms of that friction, you recently spoke of like making it easier for subscription-based businesses to kind of cancel. What's your kind of methods of doing that? Is it just being as transparent as possible? And also, how do you go about kind of working with some of those subscription-based businesses if you have in the past?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the biggest subscription-based companies I worked with was Black Rifle Coffee Company. If you guys have heard of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Dave Portnoy's unboxing.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like awesome to work with because they like just had just a crazy brand. I was like, I know what to write. It's there. And I love those people. Like, if you have a brand that either attracts or repels people and it's like, this is us, blatantly us. It's so easy to write copy for. It's like, yeah, we know who the demographic is. We're going to hit it. It's great. I've totally veered off away from the question, but yeah, from then we kind of started their subscription program with them. So it was more of, let's sell up front. Let's hit everyone that's already bought from them. And then let's kind of get them on that thought of, you should subscribe. We'll give you 15% off, and then kind of hit that. Don't run out of coffee. People like hate running out of coffee, especially on a Monday, like that pain point or whatever it might be. But then just saying, you don't have to worry about ordering coffee again. The last agency I worked, I've jumped around agencies like too much in my life. The last one I worked for too, they were majority owner of a coffee company too. And they were kind of doing the same thing where it's like they had that subscription, and then they had the one times too. So then you could just run a campaign to those one-time buyers. We would split up the conversions for that, so we could target people that bought once and then show them a campaign of why they should subscribe. And we might do little other things like get a free coffee mug, get a free grinder, whatever, if you do the subscription. But then you're building up that lifetime value. Still didn't answer your question at all though. But yeah, you just want to think about, it came back to like dealing just with like horrible subscriptions and like having to call a number to cancel. Like, don't ever make that happen. Don't make it complicated at all. Even like my banks, I've been wanting to call them, and it's just like, yeah, I don't want to call them, but they make me call them,
Yeah.
Instead of having like some sort of chat bot or something I can interact with, a chat person that I can interact with wherever. So just think about, again, the friction of that and what you can do to kind of eliminate that, being able to make them cancel right away, right now, if they want to just go on and log into their account and click cancel, and with that too, it just helps so much more. Like, you have to think about that lifetime value. And where I really worked on this back in the day, I was working at a supplement company, and we had, it was a dietary supplement, and it had some kind of medicinal benefits too for people that had like inflammation and stuff. So there were people that were taking it, but then a lot of the people were an older demographic, and they would get other health problems, and then they would, they would call in because they were older. So they would call in instead of logging into their account, but they had the option. But they would call in and say, I'm taking this medicine. My doctor doesn't want me on the supplement anymore. Oh yeah, no problem. And I would just cancel it right away. And it changes their mind where they're just like, oh, it's that easy. Like, you're not going to like force me to, and guilt trip me to cancel. I'm like, no, like, I understand. Like, it's not a problem at all. And like, those people, after I said that, they were almost like apologizing afterwards. So they were like, wow, they were super nice. And now I feel bad that I just canceled with like this great company. And the more that you could do that and just be that company, same thing with agencies too. I just hear a lot of people that, you might pitch your services and the business might not end up going with you. But if you're just nice, if you can give them some value, if you want to, then they might come back like a month later, 3 months later, after they've been with whoever or brought it in-house and it didn't work out. So you just always want to think about that. Again, just being nice,
yeah,
which is 100%. A crazy thought, and just making it easy for the customer.
Exactly.
Yeah, we found that same thing at our agency too, and had, like, we don't lock people. One thing that people love is we don't lock you in to a contract. Like,
yeah.
And I say it over calls all the time. I'm like, if you don't want to be working with us, I'm not going to force you. Like, it's not like you have to stay another 3 months, or if you don't like this contract, you're here for another 2 months. Like, if you want to go, then like, by all means, like, I'm not forcing you to work with me. It's like, I'm happy that we work together. You want to come back later? Great. That works. But like, yeah, there's not a contract like tying us together. Like, we're both happy working with each other, or we're not going to be.
Yeah. And I love the agency I just went to, and this is like why I went to them for this reason, is they focus on what's called, they kind of coined the term relationship. Well, actually, I don't know. I think someone else might have coined the term, but they call it relationship marketing. And it's all on this idea of let's care for our customers more than anyone does normally, you know? Let's care for them like friends, like a family kind of thing. And it's just built on this whole idea of most business that people get is referral traffic. So the more that you can work on those relationships and build those relationships and just under promise basically and over deliver for everything, the better that's going to be. So she runs a social media conference. It's called Social Media Week Lima out in the Midwest in Ohio. And she brings out speakers that are like, they're like 5-figure speakers that they'll get paid 5 figures in a day speaking. They'll do it for free and fly out. It's literally in the middle of, I've been there. I went there last year. It's like 2 hours from the nearest airport. Like, it's so far away. And she's flying all these like speakers that are like really big speakers that have spoken like social media marketing world. Just because she's just so good and like she's just has that service and just builds relationships. And the more that you can focus on that too, same thing with customers and doing all that. Just really think about the customer and put them first, and it's going to pay off, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, another thing we always focus on too, and always say, is like, we spend your budget as if it's our own money.
Yeah.
Well, I think that gets lost in a lot of agencies where like they hear they have a certain budget and they'll just spend it no matter how good the CAC is or how bad it is. Like, that budget being spent, if you said you had $100,000 to spend. Whereas like something we always say is like, we're not going to, like, even if you tell us you've got 150,000 to spend, like if things aren't going well, we're not just going to spend for the sake of it. Like we'll treat it as if it was our money.
Yeah. And agencies are tough to run, you know, because so many people have been screwed over by agencies. And I feel like not enough people talk about it, but it's such a big like elephant in the room where like so many people are hesitant working with agencies. So the more that you can do and say things like that, and just like you said too, with like no commitment and stuff, the more that you can do that up front, the more they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, like let's give them a chance.
Exactly.
It's just,
for so long, like so many people have been burned by agencies that like a lot of the time we don't even like to call ourselves an agency. Yeah. Because it just like sparks something bad in people's head when it's like, oh no, an agency. They're going to be taking like a percentage of my spend and they're going to be locking me in and they're going to be doing this. And we're like, no. Like, that's why we don't consider ourselves an agency. We're not like, we don't do any of those things. We know you get burned. You get burned.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some people that say, you know, instead of a client, we're partners. This is, you know, that, and just kind of switching just the words that you use, getting into like psychology and what you can do there of just approaching it differently where, we're not like a level above or below you or whatever. It's like, we're in this together. Your money's our money. We're both going to win or we're both going to lose kind of thing.
Exactly. And also like when you said, when you're kind of talking to a customer for the first time and like, maybe they don't work with you right away. Like what we've been doing recently is like video pitches to people. And essentially like we're trying to give them a value add. We're going through like the ads library and we're kind of trying to pick at their ads and be like, hey, this is what we do. By all means, implement it yourself. We could even hop on a call with your team for like 15 minutes and just go over the strategy. And then from there, you never know what could spawn. Like I've had clients come from Twitter now. Like it's crazy. I never thought that would happen in my lifetime. I'm like, oh, I got somebody randomly coming from Twitter. This is sick. Yeah, so like this is also why I started the Media Buyer's Manual. You just get yourself out there more and then stuff like that happens. And like, it's just unreal that like, you can really have, if you care, like you said, it just goes a long way in somebody's mind.
Yeah. 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 And it's all like, you know, moving people from no like to trust to then working with you. And the more like, and that's the thing that's funny too, where with a lot of people that haven't done a lot of social media marketing, they're just like afraid to give their best secrets away. But you look at like DTC Twitter and literally everyone's like, this is exactly what I'm doing. This is what's working. Exactly. Try this out. And like, don't really worry about people stealing your stuff. I mean, it's probably going to happen if you're doing it right anyway. If your copy's good, they're going to probably steal it. Don't worry about it. But it's like, you can come up with more ideas and you're good. You're going to be the guy. If you can keep doing what you're doing, it's going to show. And you have to think about the clients too. And they're going to see the value that you're providing and then want to work with you more. Or there's a lot of people, I just was watching a live stream. I'm like a big marketing nerd. So I just watched a live stream with TubeBuddy, which is like a YouTube integration platform.
Yeah.
They had a guy, Roger Wakefield, who's like a plumber that went to social media marketing world and started doing videos on his local plumbing business, right?
Cool.
And all these plumbers are like, you're going to like ruin our business, you know, because you're giving away like how to do plumbing and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, no, not really. I mean, sure, some people are going to be able to find out like how they can fix their toilet or their water heater or whatever. But most people, and like with ads, when you put out your methods and everything, most people that are clients are going to see that and be like, this is way too complicated. I do not want to do this. And then they're going to reach out and help you out and or reach out for the work, you know? So yeah. And DTC Twitter says it like all the time too, where it's just like, there's so much work out there too. Like it's not a big deal. Just keep doing really good work and keep getting better. And that's the thing with ads too. Like it changes so much. I tell people like, you can try to do it, but it changes. Like next week it's going to look different or something's going to be different or not working. So that's what's so great about Twitter and these platforms is just connecting with other media buyers and being like, what's working for you? What's working for you? Sometimes it's all the same thing. Sometimes it's like, this totally different thing worked for him. I'm going to try it, you know, and see if it works.
Exactly.
Sometimes it doesn't and sometimes it does. So it's really cool.
And that's one of the biggest things is like just taking it and testing it and iterating based off of what somebody else may have tried. It may not always work for you, just like you said. But like it's those value adds of like, hey, like if you're ever in a jam with an account, you could reach out to somebody and be like, hey, what's worked for you recently? And nobody is going to ever be like, no, I'm not going to tell you unless they're a huge D-bag. But that is very rare on Twitter. Like from everybody that I've kind of interacted with, everybody's so willing to help. And like, that's also why like I love interacting with people like yourself that are always putting out questions and posing different kind of thought processes on people. And like, it's been unreal to have, like, I followed you for like 7 days. And like, I've already learned so much different stuff. And to be honest, I just kind of wanted to go over one more thing of like your onboarding process. When you're like you said with your kind of research method, is that the very first thing that you're doing? What are you looking at in terms of onboarding a client with?
Yeah, before onboarding, sort of, I consider it the prospecting phase. I'll just touch on, but just looking there if there's any red flags. That's kind of the first thing. Like just seeing like, are these people someone that's going to trust me and my judgment? Are they going to want to? I'm like a guy that when I'm coming, you know, and writing different headlines and ideas for creative too, I like to do outside the box stuff because that's what gets attention and gets things like on that. I hate to say viral because it's like a thing that people are like, maybe a viral video. Like, no,
it moves
not
the
quite
needle
there,
though.
But yeah, it gets people's attention. It gets people talking. It gets them sharing your brand. And for like prospecting, it's just so nice to get like a business that's so down for like, this thing's trending. Let's try an angle on it. Like I think of like Aviation Gin, like right away, like them just jumping on like the Peloton thing and everything that you can do, you know?
Yeah.
So I try to look for a business that's not going to second guess everything that I say and that's like willing to run with a lot of different ideas often too, you know, trying different ad angles, even if they are far, if they're too far out of the way, I'll be like, hey, can you look this over? Just make sure I can run it, you know? So yeah, a lot of that, like looking at, is there, you know, is the product selling right now organically? Because if it's not, there's going to be a lot more work we have to put in, like maybe your brand identity, maybe just your website, maybe how you're even posting online. We like that there is just making the client 10 times harder to work with than if they have something that's working already. Right. So that there, and then looking at website, you know, audience sizes. So like website visitors, what do you have? What do you have for email lists? How many people have bought from you? What's the lifetime value? What's the average order value? All those kind of stats that you can get. And then when it comes to onboarding, I'm all over the place, but it's definitely like diving into, looking at the website and how it's functioning. If there's anything that there's usually something I can find there and be like, we should fix this and streamline it a little bit more. It's looking at just even the product pages and everything too, and optimizing those and making sure they're good. So it's kind of auditing everything, auditing the ad account, auditing the website, and simultaneously mixing it however I want to based on my mood, doing all that research and diving into that, and then kind of setting up remarketing campaigns, and then going from there with the research, putting that into creative ideas, brainstorming feedback, starting to roll out those campaigns kind of middle and top of funnel there. And then, that's mainly onboarding. No, and then asking a million questions about everything. Like, what are your business goals? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want the communication to be like? Because people have different methods. What kind of KPIs and metrics might they want?
So that was going to be a question I was just going to bring up for you. In terms of performance marketing, this is something you also posed for a question yesterday. And I said that we would get to this today. We use CAC as our main kind of performance metric. What are you looking for? Are you using ROAS, CAC? Are you blending them together? I just kind of want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah, I'm in a weird case now since I joined that agency. So they're like way more focused on websites, organic, and the ads is like an add-on. So it's not really even like touching that, but talking with friends and consulting and going forward with people that I'm working with, kind of advising and stuff. I'm looking at what they're doing and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Cause I have people saying, just hearing about like, oh, we do it based on ROAS. And I'm just thinking more like, well, when you get to spending like 100,000, 500,000 plus a month, $1 million more a month, your ROAS dips quite a bit. It's like 1 point, whatever it might be. And that's not going to work. Like, you're not going to be optimizing for profit necessarily then, when it's more of a volume play then, where your ROAS is slower, but lower, but then you're selling more product still. So your profit's still there. I really like the CAC, looking at CAC, as well as probably spend, and doing sort of a, you're dropping your percent of your retainer fee based on what their spend is, so if it goes up, it drops a little bit down. I love that more. I don't really like the fixed base retainers. I've worked at other agencies that have had that, and then when you get to going to like $1 million in spend, it's so much work. It's like a full-time job, and just thinking about all the new creative you're going to need and feedback and testing. It's like, no. So definitely definitely having some sort of scaling spend based on the, scaling fee based on the spend, coupled with a CAC type deal where, we know this CAC and we're just going to kind of scale up as much as we can, as long as we're kind of hitting that or under that.
Fair. Yeah. So like we have one company that we work with where like it's very heavily based on CAC. And we use metrics. We have like an assessment within this kind of vertical once they hit the landing page. It's for like a medical kind of company. So once they hit the lander, they're signing up, they go through the assessment. And then from there, we find that typically like the cold prospecting, they won't convert, they won't finish the assessment right away. And then in terms of that, we have to like kind of blend CAC from top of funnel to middle of funnel to bottom of funnel, and then across numerous different kind of advertising as well as organic. So would you say that we should just kind of do CAC based on each channel, or CAC blended across the channels themselves together?
That's a good question. I would, So I don't know how publicly he has this, but I know Nick Shackelford has like a pretty nice spreadsheet that kind of breaks down what you should spend per like initiate checkout and per add to cart based on all of your previous metrics. If he's willing to give that out to you, I would take that and run with it, and then be able to, break that down to where that first, maybe the landing page is one level to it, and then when they fill out the form, sorry, I don't know all the steps, but
no worries.
Try to break that out. And then that will kind of tell you based on whatever ROAS or whatever you want to do, what that should be at each level, based on kind of the history and what that looks like. His is crazy.
It changes for company to company too. Like some people you'll have a $30 product. Some people it'll be $130 product. And obviously the threshold for an add to cart is going to be a lot higher for that $190 product than it is a $30 one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love anything that's over $100. I'm like, I can get you good ROAS. Cause it just changes so much, to an extent though. If it's a complicated product, then it could still be pretty hard.
Don't go so well anymore, do they?
Yeah, I know. I know Savannah talks a lot more with the lower, like bringing it to Snapchat. And I know like that water bottle company I'm working with, I'm like, I should probably bring that to Snapchat because it is lower. Yeah, I want to test it more.
What other channels are you on? Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, we've never really found great success on Snapchat. We get tons of cheap traffic, tons of swipe ups, tons of people going, but like the conversion rate is so much lower always. And we've probably done it for like over a handful of different companies and found the exact same thing every time.
Yeah, I haven't used it enough. Sadly, I want to start just because I've heard good things about it. But yeah, I can't speak on it too much, which sucks. I wish I could. But yeah, I definitely want to dive into it. I used like way back in the day, kind of when I got into advertising, I did a totally like not relevant, but a geo targeted ad, a little filter ad on the 4th of July. And I think I spent like $5 and reached like 35,000 people I was doing music and it was like a promotion for my album and it was like a little filter. I was like, that was sweet and cheap. And that's like a really cool thing. Like that not a lot of people are using, but something that you can target a big popular event and pay like $5 and just hit so many eyeballs there.
Exactly.
Some sort of,
that's cool.
I
actually used to work in an axe throwing company. I've probably said this in every fucking episode, but essentially like I worked there and every night there'd probably be, or every weekend, there'd probably be like 200 to 250 people there. And I would always just set up a geofence around the whole parking lot and inside the building. And it's like 18 to 30-year-old people, and they're always just using the Snapchat filter. Next thing you know, organically, I didn't even have to pay for like more than $7, but I'm getting like crazy CPMs, and I'm having pretty much influencer marketing go on, but just through a goddamn geofilter. So like that's something for local businesses. Like now obviously it's a little bit more complicated. But if you have like events and stuff like that, like those filters are massive for getting organic impressions for those younger audiences.
Yeah, and even if they're not your events, you can put them somewhere where
you can
it's a big
hijack
event,
it.
and that's like what I did. I put one right around the Space Needle on 4th of July, and that's what the one was that just hit tens of thousands of people for like $5. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, but other platforms, I'm mainly on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Google a little bit. I don't like to touch it as much. It's just different, I really like Facebook and Instagram, but I hate the reliability of it too. So yeah, I definitely want to dive more into Snapchat. I have the Pixel installed on a few sites. I just need to start setting up campaigns there and getting people to approve spending and kind of going more omnichannel with it all. At other agencies I worked with, we did Google and YouTube and shopping and all that, but we had another team basically that did that, and they were like crazy geniuses. So I didn't deal with it as much. But yeah, Google ads, I'm just not as passionate about just because I do them, but they're,
Sometimes like I've talked to Adam about this because Adam's pretty good with Google ads as well.
Yeah.
A big Google guy Adam is. So usually I'd ask him like, how do you really determine choosing the channel of going to Google or going to Facebook? And do you have an opinion on that, Tony? Like, how do you kind of make sure you go about testing those properly and not just being like, yeah, let's go to Facebook?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm like the best, like I said, like with my experience to answer this well. Yeah, I would think because I've recently got back into Google for these kind of local clients. Sometimes it's the client might prefer one thing over the other too. And then Google, a lot of times it's more search based, so it's more bottom of funnel, middle of funnel type
high
stuff.
Intent, right?
Yeah. So when I think of, prospecting, growing an audience, I think way more of Facebook and Instagram. And then when I'm thinking of, if I want to hit, I think local too, a lot of times it's like Facebook. Yeah. It's good you can kind of get the awareness going and be that local celebrity, which a lot of people do, which I think is really cool too. But then for that high intent, like let's get a local plumber for that past example that I used or whatever, then boom, a Google ad like makes a lot of sense there.
I always go by if you're like solving a problem, Google is the spot to be. If you've got like a solution to a problem, that's it. If you've got a product like your water bottles, for example, that's kind of something that's like cool, people are going to stumble across and and purchase, not so much searching out a solution for where to hold my water. And then they come and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So true. And then also, Adam, I just have one question for you. When you're going about like starting a account, what are the first kind of campaigns you're putting up in Google?
Google, there's maybe 3 or 4 that I always start with. A brand defense campaign off the bat always has to happen. Competitor campaign. always has to happen, just like with your competitors' brand names. And a lot of the times I find huge wins on those. Like those are where a lot will come in, because it's not many other people are bidding on those even on their own brand name. A lot of people just mistake and don't do it. And then I have these other two. So brand, your own brand, your competitor brands. And then I like to do one I call direct, which is if you're selling a water bottle, for example, it's like buy water bottle online. Buy water bottle. So like very direct keywords, exactly what you would be searching if you were going to do it. And then another one that I call like the peripheral campaign. So it would be like best water bottle to buy, or like where to buy a water bottle online. So it's like still along the lines, but more like a question they'd be typing into Google.
More in the research and discovery kind of phase, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But in there you can still win though. Like it doesn't seem like it would be as good, but within those campaigns you can get long tail keywords. You can get like a 4 or 5 or even 6 keyword phrase that you're going to get a lower cost on, because you've just typed in like, what is the best spot to buy green water bottles online? It's just an insane sentence that no one else is going to bid on, but directly related to you.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
those would be the 4: direct, peripheral, brand, competitor.
Okay. And that's going to be a great kind of finishing point for this. Tony, we're just going to give you a little brief chance to plug anything that you want before the end of the episode. But we would like to thank you for coming on. We would definitely love to have you on in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, if you want to connect with me online, I'm everywhere. It makes it super easy at Tony Does Ads. And then my website's tonydoesads.com if you want to book a consulting session there, learn more.
Unreal. Cool. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Adam, do you have anything you want to plug?
No, thanks to meet you. Or thanks.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. And that is the end of the episode.